right, so welcome to this impromptu recording session for a podcast that doesn't have a name. Might not even be a podcast. It's just three people talking about the strategy battle game, 1/4 of an hour at a time. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce everyone. We have myself. I'm known as Commi within the Middle-earth strategy battle game Discord community. We've got BrazenElessar and the King. Today, we're going to be talking about our favorite model. But after they get a word in edgewise about their own identities. So, Brazen, what's up?
Hey. Used to be called the Brazen Golem on the MESBG Discord. Now it's called the BrazenElessar, and the reason for that is, of course, my favorite model in the game, and it's not even particularly close, is Aragorn King Elessar. The man, the myth, the legend, the hero of legend for the Minas Tirith list. 225 points base, but you always take him on the armored horse for 240 points. And the reason I like him is there's a few reasons. First of all, Minas Tirith has a few problems, especially with a lot of its more defensive builds, like with Boromir with a banner and whatnot, that struggle having hitting power. You got a lot of strength 4 heroes. Even if they get the charge on the horse, they just don't do that much damage. Elessar turns your relatively poor matchup with dwarves into a great matchup because he's got Anduril, wounds everything on a 4+ in the game, so he just cuts through dwarf lines. He cuts through defense 7 Hearthguard, he cuts through defense 8 Iron Hill shield walls. Hell, he cuts through defense 9 Durin and Thror if they don't call that heroic defense. And if they're calling heroic defense, it means that you're just auto beating them on the strike off, and on the charge you still got 8 dice to get those 6s, which is very nice. And but it's not just that, it's also that he just brings I've never taken Elessar and regretted it, but I have not taken Elessar and regretted it a lot of times because he just brings everything. He's got the free point of might every turn, so there's no turn in which you are hurting for a heroic move, especially in the late game, or hurting for a clutch heroic strike to take down someone's monster. He's got the 3s in all the right places. He's got the gold standard defense 7, so strength 4 has a lot of trouble touching him, even if he's not calling that heroic defense. He's got Horse Lord with his armored horse, so whereas a lot of other combat heroes, they can I have a lot of trouble keeping Imrahil mounted for the first couple of turns. He just always seems to lose that 15-point armored horse, which turns his 5-point lance into a total of a 20-point sink that just does not pay for anything. Meanwhile, Elessar's over here with Horse Lord, and he can just keep that thing oftentimes until the very end of the game. Half the time he loses it eventually. The other half of the time he's just mounted start to finish. Do you want a banner? He's a 6-inch banner, and even when he's prone, it counts as it stays up, as opposed to normal banners, which is very neat. And it affects him as well. It affects allies, so if you want to make any wacky yellow alliance, you got a 6-inch banner in it. You ally him with elves or dwarves or whatever have you. Now you have a 6-inch banner where normally they wouldn't. And then there's the fact that he has a heroic march with the mighty hero, so he can just, even if you take an all infantry build or almost all infantry build, you can just march around the board at 9 inches turns. So if you're up against a shooting heavy list and you can't beat them in the shooting war, you get in that much more quickly without spending precious resources. If you're in an objective scenario, and of course you brought Elessar, he's 240 points, so you're not going to have the best numbers a lot of the time. But he can get you to the objectives really quickly. And as well as, all the little things. He's got it's an elven blade that he can two-hand, so one of the things you can do is, if you tag team him with someone like Huron, who provides the strike, you can two-hand and feint with him, or stab if you need to, win the fight against something like a Gundabad troll, and then just one-shot it, because you've got 4 dice, wounding on 3s, re-rolling 1s, with 3 might to back it up, so you can very easily get the 4 wounds you need and just take a 120-point model off the board. I've done it twice, and it never gets old. As well as it's Aragorn and is finally having come into his kingship from the movies, which is this big epic moment, as opposed to the books where from the very get-go he's like, yeah, I'm the king, deal with it. Also very nice, but I like the character arc in the movies, and Viggo Mortensen is just the worst thing about this model by far is that he's got like a 20-year-old sculpt that comes in Finecast these days. If you want to, I must always recommend supporting Games Workshop to let them know that we still like this hobby, and want them to make more stuff for it. But if you're looking for a more recent high quality sculpt that could be used to proxy for King Elisar, I highly recommend the there's a like a High Human King or something that Medbury released a couple months back. That's it looks like their Arvidui proxy, but on a horse and higher quality with a two-handed sword, and it's got a crown and everything, and it's got him in that. The plate basically looks almost identical to the plate Aragorn wears at his coronation. It's so nice. So that's Elisar.
As I say, all they need to do to fix the LSR model for me is make them metal again.
That too. If you want to like support them as well, you could also just print out a higher quality head with a beard and flowing hair, of which there are many, and replace the slightly melty looking head he has on foot and on a horse, and then he looks pretty good.
It's not that bad. I've got him. I like his model. All I had to do was fix this one a little, and no, I really.
I mean, I've got his model. I've played it more than any other model. It's painted up. I've got a fucking gold and red checkered pattern on his barding that took me forever. And I'm very proud of it to this day. But I do wish the face had a bit better detail and a bit better resemblance to Viggo Mortensen, because the only thing better than playing Elisar for me would be being able to like turn him around in the middle of a match while my opponent's moving and going, it's Viggo Mortensen, because he's nice to look at.
Oh, look, I've got Viggo on my table. I get that.
All right. I suspect I've talked on long enough, so Mr. Commissariat, Mr. King, would one of you like to take it away?
Yeah,
do it, King.
As I say, favorite model by far is the Dark Lord Sauron. It's it's awesome.
Oh, you can't beat the biggest classic.
Models. He stands as tall as the troll models. He comes with like a Isildur and Elendil whimpering on the ground, which is just chef's kiss, And like, I guess he's not the most viable on the tabletop, but he's also you bring him on the table, he's just like, I've got to deal with that now. And a couple of models can do it. Like even Elisar can do it if he gets lucky, but it's a task. It's a real task.
Like I have played Elisar against Sauron a few times. Most recently, I got the trap off on him and I wounded him 11 times. That bloody ring save kept him alive through all. He's done a 1 wound, and then I beat him across 2 combats. On the 3rd combat, whiffed the strike. Sauron turned around, one-shot Elisar. Landed him for 4 wounds, and I just did not have I didn't make the fate to pass that. And I mean, Elisar, to his credit, he's facing 240 points, facing a 400-point model, dealt 11 wounds. I got the leader VPs, I got the break VPs, but Sauron was still there, and he was very angry.
Oh yeah, and you can see it on the model too. He's just that. It's just perfect. It's just from the movie made it to a mini. And they got the height right, like being as big as a troll, like mini to mini wise. I was like, perfect.
Do they still sell them in metal? Because I feel like if I'm taking, it's bullshit. That's bullshit. Like,
I know, right?
If I'm taking Sauron, I want to be the heft of him to feel like he's a murder weapon, because he is.
Yeah, like obviously got Sauron the Necromancer. He's still metal, and cool. But like the Dark Lord should still be sold in metal, but he's not. He's sold in resin. It's not that bad. I mean, when I got mine, I've always been lucky with Finecast kits. I literally had to bend the mace back to shape, and I did. And painting him was dead easy because he's like 4 colors: silver, gold, darker silver, black.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to cast aspersions as to like the sculpt quality or whatnot, because like it's just that again. I want him to be hefty. I want him to thunk when I put him on the table, and I want him to feel like a murder weapon.
If there's not the ever born threat that if Sauron tips over, he will literally crush like 5 models, then you don't have the true Sauron experience.
Yeah, like him and the beefy chiefy, they should be the reason that you bring super glue just in case.
Yeah, for sure. We've got the Troll Chieftain. He definitely everywhere I go with him, super glue comes with. And if when I eventually get Sauron in metal, so that means I am aiming to have 2 Saurons, other than 2 Sauron the Dark Lords. I do want 1 in metal and the resin one. The resin one I've painted and it's great, but I'll get the missus. So a lot of people know on the Discord, my missus paints most of my armies because she paints way better than me. And if she got her hands on a Dark Lord of Sauron, oh,
Nice.
worshipping at her feet,
I-
yes. She'll probably do the inscription on the ring as well. It's like tiny bit on his.
I mean, I worship the missus and kneel at her feet, but I just do that anyway. She doesn't even paint my shit.
Terrible behavior. Get her to do something useful. I'm joking.
Nah, she's too busy painting her own shit.
All right, that's fair. That is fair. She's got a few projects of her own, but when I can, I know you're like, hey, can you just finish this for me? I've got a tournament in a week.
Right. I'm still on the indoctrinating train myself, just slowly. There's the common love for Lord of the Rings, and so that's basically the foot in the door. I just gotta grab a crowbar and pry the door open.
But back to something for Sauron. Have any of I haven't personally. Have either of you played the big Last Alliance scenario where Sauron, where you have the 4 big good heroes? You've got Gil-galad, Elendil.
I set it up to play with one of the guys on this Discord. I also share another Discord with him, and we were like, yeah, we'll do it. Then we did the big fight from the Defense of the North between Easterlings and Erebor Reclaimed and Dale, and that took 2 sessions to do, and it was like a solid 9 hours just for 10 turns. I think the scenario ends in 10 turns. Yeah, we were like, okay, after that, maybe leave it until we both know we've got a good weekend to do the Last Alliance.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing where I don't have the models to do it in real life because you need 300 orcs or some nonsense. You need Sauron. You need some ridiculous number of. Granted, they're pretty cheap, but I need to. I mean, I'm a stickler. I want to paint them up to at least tabletop quality. I need to get a bunch of Numenorians, and I need to get more high elves. I'm probably going to buy the bloody Duvall elves and print those out because they finally got their sword and shield elves out as opposed to the 2-handed ones. Because GW has never given you enough shields with elves. But anyway, that's another problem.
Just look at the Galadriel.
2 Mordor trolls and 72 Mordor orcs.
Oh god, yeah.
That's an easy collection. I can do that next week. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, just spend literally $120 on orcs before you even get to anything else.
Well, unless you just dive through eBay and collect 72 orcs for $5 because everyone doesn't want them.
That's true. Yeah, you could unironically probably get that kit for $30 if you're clever on eBay, and you just spend another $3 on some isopropyl to strip them, and then toothbrush and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, whenever folks are asking in the Discord channel or on the Facebooks, whatever, about getting into the hobby, it's go on to eBay, support a hobbyist by buying their old models, paint them up, play some games. The money that you gave the hobbyist will very clearly go right back into the hobby, and secondhand market.
The circle of hobby
beautiful.
Money.
Yeah, it's quite good. We've got 2 excellent choices here. We've got Elessar representing the paragon of good, and we've got the Dark Lord Sauron representing the paragon of evil. And
he is the evil. He is the evil in Middle Age. The Third Age. All right. Second Third Age. Yeah. Cool. What's yours, Commi?
Oh, well, my favorite model it was a tough choice because I had to pick between 2 models. So the honorable mention that I'll give is the Ruffian with Bow from Sharky's Rogues.
Him and his 5+ shoot value.
I can't wait for your choice.
So, I mean, to speak on the Ruffian a little bit, ever since I was a wee lad, I loved his just edgy bandana, and he had he was in that stalking pose, and I just really liked the character that was in that model. I thought he looked so cool. But I can never not name him Shaggy. He just looks like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo to me. I actually love the guy. But
I just realized that.
Isn't he? He looks just like Shaggy. I want to give him a green shirt and have him say Zoinks. But
there he is. Mobile.
There he is. Done. There it is. Scooby-Doo, Sharky's Rogues paint job coming up next. I actually did get a box of Ruffian, so I actually could paint one. But my favorite model, though, of all time, has got to be the Mouth of Sauron on horse.
Yeah, it's another point for evil.
It is.
You can see that I'm outnumbered, much like the Men of the West were in the series.
Yep. The Mouth of Sauron, I think the main key reason I actually really love the Mouth of Sauron. I mean, yes, like I've listed 2 sculpts that are absolutely, ancient by modeling standards, but I think the entire aesthetic of Mouth of Sauron is carried on the back of that armored horse. Like, take a second, go to the Games Workshop website, take a look at that horse. That horse is so cool looking. And with the guy up top who's, he's like the spokesperson of Mordor, whatever. But that point, right, he's pointing from the top of his horse. It's such a commanding sort of like leaderish pose, which you would expect or want from a leader in your army. It's very cool. And then I guess, when you get to the profile side of things, he's like a guy who can fight stuff, but also can cast magic. And like, that's kind of cool. He's versatile. I guess nowadays he's got Heroic March, and so he can bring people around. I could be wrong that he has March, but I don't know. I've never used.
He does have March.
Yeah.
I would say is that he is what Gildor wishes he was.
Hey, come on. Leave Gildor alone, man.
That's true. I respect 8-inch move elves. That is for sure.
Yeah, but this is a 10-inch move machine.
Yeah, this is 10-inch move armored horse.
But freeze you on the way.
He causes terror too. He's got 2-handed sword, dude. So he has like the most Chad weapon ever.
Yeah. Hand and a half sword is like the Chad weapon. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Mace go punk, but hand and a half sword is.
He can just come out of nowhere with a steel chair, and like so many people forget he's got a hand and a half sword because they like keep him back in the back, commanding and casting spells and being in the back line. And then when they commit him with support, they're like, "Wait a minute, he can 2-hand? Oh no, my defense 7 hero is suddenly getting wounded twice as often, and he's dealt like 3 wounds on him."
And he was transfixed on the way in.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Mouth of Sauron, 2 points of might for doing stuff, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You also get with that the ability to transfix. So if there's like an LSR or a Boromir or whatever on the other side of the field, you can cast some spells their way to try and lock them up and potentially get your points back for a few turns just on that alone.
Yeah, for sure.
And then with fight 5, 2 attacks, 3 on the charge, a horse, the 2-handed sword, can munch through two miles a turn, get their points back easy. Like, this is like, I think I don't know, on a whim with no research, I would say that the Mouth of Sauron is probably the best mid-tier hero, just because of just like the
we're making some bold plays here right now.
And maybe it's because he looks so handsome.
I'll agree. He probably is one of the best looking mid-tier heroes, but the best overall, as in including the profile or including your infantry. I mean, like, you've got Musger in the same army.
That's true.
Musger. I don't think Musger's actually that good. Hot take.
Oh,
hot
take.
Oh,
no one expects Wither. No one expects Wither.
That's because Wither's bad.
Nice cheesy grin.
Bring someone who can transfix. Don't just make it hard.
Too.
Don't make it harder for someone to wound your guys. Make it impossible for them to wound them. Bring a fucking budget wraith for like the same cost with like 9 will, and for 8 turns that game, average of like 6 successful casts or whatever. Suddenly they're doing literally no damage.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool and all, but there's nothing like seeing life drain from someone's voice or eyes when you go, oh yeah, you're Bear, who's strength 8, strength 5 now, because you channeled Wither and got a 5 or 6.
Yeah, and then you just killed like a model here.
Yeah, get your will back.
Okay, draining Bjorn down to strength 5 is unbelievably based, and I accept your argument.
But yeah, back to Mouth of Sauron.
He's sick. Like, just cool guy.
He is.
Yeah, I do think he's got the best looking horse in the game, and
for sure, yeah, that horse is awesome.
If you read the book, like that horse is literally like some sort of like hell steed or some nonsense with flaming eyes and nostrils. So if you want to go crazy with like the kit bashing and the paint job, you can make that thing look even cooler. And if anyone tries to call you out on it because it doesn't look Lord of the Ringsy, it's like this is the most Lord of the Rings model you've ever seen on the table.
He's cool, and like his foot pose, isn't as cool as, or his foot model isn't as cool as the mounted model. But I do love the classic 2 hands holding the sword. Give me a model with holding a sword with 2 hands close to themselves, and I'm all over it.
Yeah, bit of that heroic pose in it. Bam, I'm here. Here's my weapon. I'm here to make trouble.
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible to exceed the amount of drip and respect commanded as you do get with the Huron on foot model.
Nah, come on. I'm not, respect the drip, sure, but Dark Lord Sauron. He looks immense.
Oh, I'm talking about man-sized model on foot. Like, Sauron's his own category. Like Sauron and the Troll Chieftain with the sword, looking like Rogash from Battle for Middle-earth 2, are just like, they're their own category. It's like, it'd be like Usain Bolt showing up to a high school track meet. You gotta have them in separate fields.
Yeah, Huron's he's pretty drippy. So many good models in the low tour range, man. So many good models, and even some of them that are old, like the Malphasar one that is really old. Yeah, well, I say that, but it's like 20 years at most. It's only 2 decades. They still look awesome.
A lot of them have aged better than others, especially the ones that don't have that have partially or completely obscured faces, because it's usually the face that suffers the most from being a little bit melty around the edges.
I get that. Yeah, I'm just gonna put my Imrahil model away.
Like look at old Arwen, and she looks like she's a fucking barrel weight.
Hey, I respect those extremely large cheekbones. All right.
Dude, those fucking cheekbones do more damage than Hadafang does.
Strength 9 cheekbones.
From now on, every time Arwen kills something, I just imagine she headbutts it. But like, it's not the impact of the headbutt; it's the cheekbones slicing them up.
I've actually got her half painted on my desk right now. That exact model in metal from a job lot I got like 8 years ago.
Yeah, 2 models on middle life on my desk.
So
letting the side down, yeah, because they're on a display case. That's why.
But we brought up a subject as like best mid-tier hero. Like, we've got the Malphasar put forward. That's the challenge. We've got Musger. As far as me, like, when we say mid-tier, are we talking like 60 to 120 points? Are we talking like 60 to 90?
I'd say like 50 to 100, and either 50 to 100. Some tools, not all the tools. That's what makes them mid-tier.
Fair enough. That is fair. I gotta go, and I know I'm gonna get some flack for this. Rightfully so, because it comes from a range of profiles and models that are very divisive. But I gotta go with Toriel.
Oh yeah, I mean Toriel's absolutely slapping.
Yeah.
85 points, 90 with a bow, which I always take, because I mean, getting beyond the 33% bow cap with an Elven army is always worth it. Get to like 15 shots with 35 models. It's awesome.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I've only faced Toriel twice, and she didn't do anything in both games. But that's not subjective of that's not a projection of how she performs overall. Like, on paper, yeah, solid profile, really solid.
Like, what you have to do is you compare her profile, and then you compare it to, like, for 5 points less, someone like Arvidui.
Yeah.
And you start getting the full picture, or like compare it for 5 points less to Huron on foot. And granted, Huron keeps the hell up because he's got the he can 2-hand for free, and he's got his special rules, and he gets a horse, which, as we all know, combat heroes double in value once you get the horse, and it's just the world we live in. But Toriel is just, you can't swarm her properly because she gets like 8 attacks, and she's going to kill 4 models, so you're going to run out of things to swarm her with.
You want to be at the same.
She's got 3 fate for no good reason.
That's true.
Like, she's got 3/2/3. She's the exact same as Legolas. Ed is a better fighter than Legolas, and can get a bow like Legolas, and with a bow is still 5 points cheaper than Hall's Legolas.
Legolas can shoot
like,
past
what?
Friendly models, so better.
Legolas at 95 points is probably the actual best mid-tier hero in the game, but I'm over here saying that Toriel is better and way more fun.
I mean, there is Haldir for a named captain.
Haldir's good, but I don't think Haldir's good enough at any one particular thing. He is like the thing he does best is be a hero of valor. That's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
75
yeah.
points effectively
There
cheaper
is
than
that, but
Celeborn.
I think Haldia shines in the allies. You either ally Loth with Rohan or Minister or Fellowship, and you take Theoden or Aragorn in either of those lists. He can be at the other side of the line and still be in banner range, keeping him majorly in the fight. And when he dies, he goes down swinging, which I really like. I feel it's really fluffy.
That's true.
It's like, he's going down, bam, dead.
Oh, he's a really fun model, and one of the things that a lot of people say, and with some good reason, is that elves have trouble killing and they don't hit hard. And meanwhile, I'm over here just looking cross-eyed at them, going, "Do you have any idea how many elves can two-hand?" And like the cheaper the elf that like he's in that space where he's got pikes in Lothlorien. He's got 3 might, so he can like get that so that he can eat that -1 more easily if he's if really needs to win that fight. And he's only like I always take him with heavy armor and elf bow. I don't know who takes him without an elf bow.
Like, with expert shots sat there, it's kind of weird not to. Other than for maybe a fluffy narrative reason, like, I'm going to do Haldia when he's dropped his bow at Helm's Deep, or...
Exactly. I think the more common one is taking him without his armor, so he's like the pajama squad from Fellowship.
Oh, for sure. I love that model.
And like 75 points for that, even with D4, is just tasty. But I always bring him at 85 points. Like 85 points for someone who can two-hand and can get fight 6 pikes and then faint because he's still at fight 6. He can actually kill pretty well.
Yeah. Lots of people sleep on heroic strength, but like as you said, if he's got the support, why not heroic strength and two-hand?
Can he? I thought he only had strike and accuracy. I thought that it was an orphan.
No, he has accuracy, strike, and strength. Rumel has defense.
Why does Orphan get literally nothing special?
Yeah, he has 2 swords. He has 2.
Oh no, we had such a dearth of dual-wielding elves in this bloody game.
Oh, that was 2 swords of protection.
And he's the only dual-wielding elf in the entire game with a name who doesn't have strike, and yes, I checked.
No, I'm just checking Aerostar right now. Yes, Aerostar has strike. Of course he does.
Like, he has 1 less might, but Aerostar is just better because he's D7 and he rerolls all wounds, so he doesn't need strength.
He's also 2 things.
And
1.
Yep, he's got 2 will instead of 1.
Yeah.
Granted that it's better on Orphan because he's got resistance to magic, so he's automatically just better against magic. But
yeah, true that.
Orphan, the only elf bad enough to come out to be released without woodland creature on his profile. God.
Bit of an oversight there. So Haldia was one of the first models I got. It was the Helms. So when I first got into the game, I got the Pelennor set, the Fellowship set, a Nazgul set, just because I love the Nazgul. And then the next purchase, the MCOs came out, and there was a Heroes of Helm's Deep one, which is like Theoden, not Hammer, the other one, Gamling, the Free Hunters, Haldia, and Lothlorien Banner. And yeah, my Haldia, when he was painted up, I was like, I want to use him in every game ever.
He does have a good armored model. It's really nice looking.
Yeah. Like the Haldir in Celeborn is cool, but like the Helm's Deep Haldir is that's a gorgeous model.
The single biggest thing that bothers me about the Defenders of Helm's Deep Legendary Legion, and it's like not an actual complaint because it makes total sense why they did it that way.
Go on.
You need to have Theoden in the list. Mm-hmm. And like the entire point is like to save Rohan, to save, King Theoden, and ensure that he's around to like lead Rohan in the War of the Ring. The entire thing is effectively to protect Theoden, even though they're protecting a bunch of other people. He's kind of the objective in that entire thing, and he does nominally lead the defense, but like when people think the defense of Helm's Deep, 90% of the time they think of the Deeping Wall.
Oh yeah.
And so it is, since you have to bring Theoden, it is impossible to afford the 3 hunters and Haldir, which is hard enough as it is. And once you have like 20 models at 800 points, if you bring the entire Deeping Wall hero contingent and Theoden on top of it, and I'm not happy.
I think we kind of see an evolution in how they design the Legendary Legions with like the Defense of the North book, because I think at that time they were like, oh, Defenders of Helm's Deep, Theoden, done, got it, and then didn't kind of foresee people wanting to do like a Deeping Wall helm, like Legendary Legion, or anything like that, or Hornburg, Legendary Legion or whatever. And I think we kind of saw a shift of that in the Defense of the North with the Defenders of Erebor, because I